One of the most important workflow situations you're going to run into when NURBS modeling is having to patch together a NURBS model. Now, what do I mean when I say patching? I mean having to create a model out of multiple NURBS patches. You're going to have to do this because virtually no model can be created out of a single NURBS patch. Now, what do I mean when I say that? Well, take this object, for example. Now, I've created this out of polygons, just as an example. That's all it is. And let's pretend this kind of simulates an arm coming out of a torso. We'll just kind of leave it a little bit in the imagination, but you can see where something like that would be very handy, and you can make this very easily out of polygons. Now, if this were a NURBS surface, let's take a look here. We know that all NURBS surfaces, all NURBS patches, have to be four-sided. No more, no less. Always four. Now, that is actually the very rule from which we derive that we have to patch models together in the first place. Because take a look at this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, but this one piece, if this were a NURBS surface, it would have a hole in the middle of it, and you simply can't do that. So this is not a valid NURBS patch. However, if we divided it up, like if you could imagine a line that went diagonally down this way, so that'd be one side, 2, a third side that went diagonally all the way to the end of the arm, 3, and then 4th, that would be a NURBS patch. Or if we broke it up even further, where we had, well, maybe I could just kind of show you this way, like this could be a NURBS patch. So that has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. This could be a NURBS patch. This could be a NURBS patch. You see how this is working? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Do the same thing this way. So there's another patch. Here's another patch. And here's another patch. So this would be all the patches of the base object. Now as we move this way, of course, this would have to be divided. All the way down, like so. Looks like I grabbed somebody, didn't mean to there. And then just for the sake of argument, let me grab, let's see, boom. Oh, let's see, control right mouse. And let's grab edge loop utilities. I'll get the select edge loop tool, and let's just create an edge loop here and an edge loop here. Now, this, of course, is a polygon object. I'm totally aware of that. I'm only bringing this up as an example. If you had a NURBS model divided into these types of patches, it would be perfectly legitimate, and it would look just like this surface does now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually show you how to create one of these out of NURBS patches on your own. Let's go ahead and create, let's take this, we'll delete it out. I'm going to create a NURBS plane. And, you can rock this up on its side if you want to. I'm going to go ahead and leave it flat on the ground. Doesn't really make that much of a difference. And let's create a NURBS cylinder that we're going to attach it to. So something kind of like so. Now, it kind of goes without saying, and I only say kind of because if you're a complete rookie to NURBS, you might not be able to catch on to this, that we need more detail in order for any sort of attachment to take place. So take your NURBS plane, and let's make it, I don't know, 6 by 6 will probably do. And we'll go ahead, I'll scale up my cylinder up just a little bit. We'll pull it down just a little bit closer to the surface, like so. Let's also take our cylinder and let's increase the number of spans. Let's say 4 spans total. So there you go. There is a, what we'll just kind of generally call a torso, and this will be an arm that's coming out of it. Again, this is all in theory. This is just to get your brain thinking about how you patch together models, okay? You with me? Good. Now, to do this, there's really only a few tools that you're going to need. Namely, you're going to need the Detach Surfaces tool, the Attach Surfaces tool. You're going to need to rebuild surfaces, and you're going to be doing a lot of history deletion because your history is going to pile up very, very quickly. Now, the first thing we need to do to attach these two surfaces together is remember that rule. We're having to keep all of our shapes 4-sided patches, and therefore we're going to need a lot of different patches. So the first step is dividing up the surface. I'm going to right mouse and grab isoparms. Grab an isoparm here and an isoparm here. And what I'm going to do is go to Edit NURBS, and we'll choose Detach Surfaces. Now that's good, that detaches in this direction, but now we need to detach in this direction as well. So let's grab isoparms, isoparms, and isoparms. Now I did that really fast. If you didn't know you could do that, just hold down the right mouse button, quickly zoom straight up, boom, boom. It's a very quick way to grab isoparms. Now, watch how I'm selecting these isoparms. I am not just clicking on them. You can do that from time to time, but when you click, it's very easy to accidentally get off of a main isoparm, and you don't want to do that. So marquee select the isoparms on either side. Now look at that. If you mistake and you accidentally grab one that kind of slides off to the side, immediately hit undo, hold down shift again, and just marquee select over those isoparms just to kind of go around the outside of your cylinder. Let's go back to Edit NURBS, Detach Surfaces, like so. Now, I don't want to have to dig into the menu every time we detach surfaces and attach surfaces. You're going to find we're going to be doing that quite a lot over the next few minutes. I'm going to come over here to my shelf, and let's grab New Shelf. And we'll call this NURBS Modeling, or with 2 L's if you're in the UK. And it has an illegal character. It has a space in it. Whoops, my bad. So NURBS Modeling. There we go. That's fine. Now, it's blank right now, and we know, just from what we were doing a second ago, that eventually we're going to need the Detach Surfaces tool. Take my word for it, we will need it again. So I'm going to hit Control-Shift, and we'll go to Edit NURBS, Detach Surfaces. Boom. Now, if you want, you can double-check your settings. Just make sure Keep Original is off. You do not want Keep Original on for this. So now we have the ability to detach our surfaces very quickly. Now, as soon as you have detached everything out, you can take this surface in the middle where the cylinder is going to be attaching in, and you can delete it out. It's gone. Goodbye. Now, we should break up the arm, which is kind of what we're calling this as well. Let's go ahead and switch over to isoparms. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab isoparms at the corners where they meet up with the square-shaped holes. So boom, 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 like so. Let's go ahead and detach those. Now, if one of your edges turned out to be the actual seam of the object, you may need to go in and split that shape again. If that happens, just go ahead and select the proper isoparm one more time and make another detachment. If you didn't see that happen, don't worry. It'll probably happen sooner or later in your modeling career. Okay, now that we've done that, we need to, just for the sake of good form, rebuild all of these surfaces to uniform. So let's go to Edit NURBS, Rebuild Surfaces. Open these up, and what I'm going to do is make sure that I switch this over to uniform, which is our preferred type of surface to create. Gives you a nice clean surface, very easy to read, and make sure that all of the detail is flowing very evenly across the surface. We're going to do something very interesting. We're going to make sure that we check Keep CVs. This is kind of a workflow issue because when you are modeling on a NURBS object, you don't want any CVs that you have edited to be moving around too much. And what this is going to do is keep your CVs locked into place and simply rebuild the underlying detail, which is good. So let's go ahead and rebuild, and that is something else that we're going to be doing an awful lot. So let's go ahead and hit Control-Shift, Edit NURBS, and bring up Rebuild Surfaces with those particular settings in place. Now, look at this. We've built up a lot of construction history on this object. So the next thing we want to do is go to Edit, Delete by Type, History. And we're going to be doing that a lot. So let's go ahead and go to Control-Shift, Edit, Delete by Type, History, like so. So now we can detach, rebuild, and delete history very quickly. But now we need to be able to attach. That's the whole point of what we're doing. We're trying to make sure everything is nice and attached up. So what I'll do is I'll select this surface, and let's go ahead and select this panel of the arm. We'll go to Edit NURBS, Attach Surfaces, open up your options. Switch it to Blend, leave a blend bias of 0.5, so that's actually the default setting. So just reset settings, switch off, keep originals, and click Attach. Now we're going to be doing that a lot as well. So let's go ahead and Control-Shift, Edit NURBS, bring down Attach Surfaces with those settings. I'm going to middle mouse drag this right in between Detach and Rebuild. So we can attach, rebuild, delete history, like so. All right, so now that we have attached these together, let's rebuild uniform, keeping CVs, and let's delete history. I'm going to select isoparms, grab this isoparm where the attachment took place, detach, rebuild, delete history. It's just a way to make sure that everything is staying nice and clean and uniform the whole time. So get into this habit. It's going to be something you're doing a lot. It's going to be almost like a dance, and you're going to have the steps of it memorized. So let's attach, rebuild, delete history, select isoparms, detach, rebuild, delete history. Let's grab these two strips. Attach, rebuild, delete history. Detach, rebuild, delete history. Attach, rebuild, delete history. Detach, rebuild, delete history. All right, we have the exact same pieces we had before, except now their continuity has been adjusted so that they're starting to look a little bit more like they blended together. Just a little bit more. They've still got a ways to go. Now from here, this is where we start attaching things together and making this all look like one contiguous surface. Now we have an interesting thing here when it comes to patch modeling, and this is something you'll run into when you're attaching arms or legs or ears and really in several different places across characters, and it's a 5-patch corner. Typically when you're NURBS modeling, you want 4 patches to come together and form a corner, but sometimes you can't help it. You're going to end up with a 5th patch. And here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and all of these have to come together here in the middle. Now, Maya can do this, and Maya can make it look seamless. You just have to be patient, and it's going to take a lot of work on your part. It's not too hard, though. It's just maybe a little bit tedious. I think tedious might be a good word for it. All you need to do is select 2 of the patches that are right next to each other, attach, rebuild, delete history, grab that isoparm, detach, rebuild, delete history. Grab the next 2 surfaces. So we're just going to kind of move clockwise around from here. So grab these 2. Attach, rebuild, delete history. Detach, rebuild, delete history. Attach, rebuild, delete history. Grab isoparms, grab that guy again. Detach, rebuild, delete history. We're putting it together and we're cutting it back apart. Now what are we doing as we do this? We are making each one of these surfaces tangentially contiguous or continuous to the other at least once. We're setting up the basis for continuity between the surfaces. And what you need to do is walk all the way around and make sure you get everybody at least once. So these 2, then these 2, then these 2, these 2, these 2, and these 2, all the way around. Now, in a lot of cases when I'm doing this on my own, folks, I will go around more than once, just to be safe. So notice I'm kind of getting a little bit faster here. You grab the 2 surfaces, attach, rebuild, delete history. Grab that isoparm, detach, rebuild, delete history. Make sure that detached. Detach, rebuild, delete history. All right, so with that, that's a pretty good start. Now let's move on to the next area. So we'll grab these 2, attach, rebuild, delete history. Select, detach, rebuild, delete history. Attach, rebuild, delete history. Isoparm, detach, rebuild, delete history. This should become so common that as a modeler, you don't even need to think about it anymore. It should just be the NURBS modeling dance to you, and you shouldn't even really realize you're doing it. Now later on, once we actually get into modeling a character, we're going to give you a script that will make this quite a bit faster and easier. For now, we're just going to leave things kind of simple and go with the standard NURBS modeling tools. And detach, rebuild, delete history. Notice I'm leaving off my last step is attaching these pieces up here at the cylinder together. Okay, now back to the next set. And things will probably get a little bit quiet here because I'm just doing pretty much the same stuff over and over again. Attach, rebuild, delete history. Grab that isoparm. Detach, rebuild, delete history. Attach, rebuild, delete. Grab. Detach, rebuild, delete. Attach, rebuild, delete. Detach, rebuild, delete. Attach, rebuild, delete. Detach, rebuild, delete. Attach, rebuild, delete. Detach, rebuild, delete. Dun, dun, dun. Oh yeah, starting to get the hang of it. da, da, da. Last one. Attach, rebuild, delete. Detach, rebuild, delete. Okay. Got one more corner to play with. So let's go ahead and start it off. Attach, rebuild, delete. Detach, rebuild, delete. Attach, rebuild, delete. Detach, rebuild, delete. Well, looks like I hit the wrong button. That's okay. Detach, rebuild, delete. Da-dun, da-dun, da-dun. Oh, looks like I missed that. Come here, you. Detach, rebuild, delete. There you go. Attach, rebuild, delete. Detach, rebuild, delete. Attach, rebuild, delete. Whoops, just grab one. Detach, rebuild, delete. Attach, rebuild, delete. Detach, rebuild, delete. Da, da, da. Da, da, da. Do, do, do. And turn on like a tango while you do this. Da, da, da. Da, da, da. Last one. Da, da, da. Okay, we've attached, we've detached all the way around, and still this thing does not look continuous. Is Zach mad? Does he know what he's talking about? Why doesn't this look perfect yet? Well, we've got one last step to do, and that is to grab all of the pieces in question, go to Edit NURBS, Stitch, open up the global stitch, and let's go ahead and reset all the settings. Now, the settings we're going to be using here, and I'll be talking more about this command and its settings in the tools videos. We're going to set this to closest knot, match parameters, stitch smoothness to normals, and max separation we'll set to about 1 here, and I may need to increase it a little bit after this. Let's go ahead and do the global stitch, and it looks like that max separation needed to be a little higher, so let's say 1.2. Ooh, it looks like that might have got it. Ooh, not quite. Let's say 1.5. Boom. Ooh, we're almost there. We're so close. 1.6. Nope. 1.8. Oh, and there we go. Now everybody's all touching. Now check that out. Now, there is a little bit of creasing here and there on the surface. And you see, if you look really close from certain angles, you might notice a little bit of creasing. There are ways to handle this. We can grab all of our surfaces and delete out our history. That kills off our global stitch. And you can try redoing the global stitch. In fact, we're going to be global stitching so much, you may want to come in here and go under Stitch, Global Stitch, and add that to the shelf. So we can click, create a new one. And in a lot of cases, that's going to help right there, just redoing your stitch. The reason for that is that your last stitch had such a huge max separation that you really had to kind of adjust a lot of the vertices. And then if you delete out your history and then do a new stitch, everything's already closer together, and Maya has a much easier time calculating the stitch. Now, you'll notice up here that we have lost some of the roundness of our arm. Now, this is not something that I was really too worried about in this. The way you would solve this problem is that before you started splitting this arm up into the strips that we did to actually create our surface, you would grab isoparms all the way around, say here, 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 and here. Come here, isoparm. And here. And you would detach all of these. You would have detached all of these beforehand, so that now once you get all of this attached up, you can just attach all of this back together and make it nice and contiguous again. Now, I'm not too worried about that. What I wanted to show you was how you can take a multi-patch model and make it nice and seamless and flowing from one surface to another to create a patch model. And this is an invaluable skill, and all it takes is patience and a couple of tools. Now, that is going to basically wrap things up for this video. Again, all I wanted to kind of get into was a bit of patching and creating seamless surfaces from multiple patches. You'll be seeing a lot of that as we get into modeling a character in NURBS. So practice this. Please practice this. Watching me do it is not enough. Please follow along with this video. Try it on your own. Try detaching this surface kind of up here at the top before you go, and then try to reattach all of that. Try to come up with examples where you can make these patches happen. That is going to end this discussion over patch modeling. Thanks a lot.